All right, Adam. Thanks again for jumping on the podcast once again. How you doing?
Good, man. Thanks for having me back. I loved our
Yeah,
conversation last
love
time.
love the new setup. Looking good.
Thank you. Yeah, trying to put a little bit more a little bit more energy towards content and getting,
Yeah,
I think we run a cool business and we're in a cool industry and looking forward to making things a little bit more visually appealing. I think it's
yeah. I
really
know you're
important.
running a great business, bitcoinwell.com. I've been noticing the content recently as well. So amazing stuff. And that's sort of the intention of this episode here. I wanted to do with you again. I want to speak to people who are familiar with Bitcoin, have done some research and are thinking, you know what, now I'm ready to buy. So, like, I really want to just go through the process from, buying a Bitcoin, storing it, proper ways to use it, wallets, things like that, and but speaking to that newbie. So hopefully we can
Yeah,
orange pill some people here today.
the no coiners, man. The
Yes.
no coiners are actually pre coiners. Everyone is a pre coiner.
Yeah.
It just depends on when it happens. I think,
Nice.
yeah, man. No, I think super important. And this is what we live for. I mean,
Yeah.
I've been doing this now for actually in March it'll be 10 years
Wow.
that I found Bitcoin, which is like it's crazy, man. I don't feel old enough to have been doing something for 10 years,
Amazing.
but yeah, and like here we are.
Yeah, that's
And
incredible.
since day one, it's been obviously learning, and then teaching. And for the last, like, I've been lucky for the last 6 7 years, I've been a full time Bitcoin teacher,
Yeah,
and we get to build cool products. But ultimately, at the end of the day, all we do is educate people on how to buy, sell, and use Bitcoin safely.
love it.
And yeah, I'm honored to be here and continue that
Love
mission.
it. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. As much as this episode is for those no coiners or pre coiners, I like that term. It's a lot for me too, man, because there's a lot that I'm still, unfamiliar with, want to learn more about. So hopefully we can extract a lot of
It's
value
funny.
here.
I want to unpack that a little bit because I mean, not to I don't want to dox you, but you own Bitcoin, I
Yeah. Oh yeah.
presume, and maybe you have for some time. But even myself, like Bitcoin, Bitcoin ownership and the self custody of money and the journey towards becoming a sovereign individual is really a Bitcoin journey. Like when you think about even like just take my life the last 10 years, I dove into Bitcoin super heavy. I'm known in my circles and probably around the city, maybe even the country, as like the Bitcoin guy. Like I am the Bitcoin guy, and or I'm a Bitcoin guy. And even me, I'm learning about Bitcoin every single
Yeah.
day. There's something new. It's like the internet, right? Like the internet's been around for is it 40 years? The internet's been around, and we're still learning. Oh, hey, on top of that same HTTP protocol that's been around for 40 years, we can make robots that talk like humans, right? We can create artificial intelligence. Like it's cool, man. And Bitcoin's the same thing. Bitcoin's a protocol that allows you to interact with money, with something, with a token that has value,
Yeah.
and that's cool. And I mean, it's great. I think pre coiners, deca coiners, or is that what someone who's been in Bitcoin should be called? A deca
The
coiner,
deck coiner.
alike. Both someone who's been here for 10 years or someone who's like heard about it, thinks it's a scam and a Ponzi scheme. Both those people are on a Bitcoin journey,
Yeah.
and it's cool to meet people where they are on that Bitcoin
Yeah,
journey.
I think that at the core, it's such a new concept. The understanding of like self custody, your essentially assets, your money. When we're just used to, okay, let's go to a bank, put our money, and that's it. You have to stop. You stop thinking about it at that point. So it's a little bit more involved with Bitcoin to properly store it and secure it. And I think that to a lot of people, that's kind of like a scary part
Yeah,
in a lot of ways. So hopefully we can get through some
which
of that.
well, it's kind of interesting because it's funny that we see custody of money so much differently than we see custody of everything else, right? Look at like let's take this to the extreme. Let's look at North Korea, for example. They have custody over very little. Their time, they don't have custody of time. They don't have custody of food. They don't have custody of shelter, right? The authoritarian government tells them what they can and cannot do, where they can and cannot go, what they can or cannot consume at every function of their life. And we, as Westerners, we're like, oh, that's horrible. That's brutal. I can't imagine living my life like that. But then when you talk about self-custody of money, you get those claws go up. It's like, whoa. I'm not smart enough to do that. I can't imagine self-custodying my money. It's like, well, you self-custody your children, your car, your time, you know, you're able to like consume food. I was talking with Ben from BTC Sessions a few months ago. We were talking about this, and I was like, humans are pretty responsible. Like, we figured out how to clothe ourselves. We bathe on a regular occasion. We're not like my hot take there was we're not walking outside and there's not like human feces everywhere. We figured out how to like be pretty self-responsible and self-composed. And somehow we've been trained, you know, my assumption is from the legacy financial system that your money is just way above your head. You're too stupid to handle your own money. And I just diabolically oppose that. Like, we've got people, I know individuals that run multi-million-dollar businesses. They've got teams of hundreds of people that they themselves are responsible for. And they have the perception of, oof, self-custody of money is pretty risky. And I just can't believe it. I cannot believe it. It's crazy.
That's totally true. And when you really take a step back and think about that, like, you're totally right. And it's like, what is it about money that makes people so anxious and scared? I mean, you know, I guess you just gotta go back to the beginning about, you know, monetary system, how it was formed. It was by design to make it as complicated as possible, right?
It absolutely is, and that's exactly it. We have accepted that inflation is necessary. We've accepted that the dollar shouldn't be backed by anything. We've accepted that time is not, in fact, or money is not a representation of time. It's like this separated function. We just trade our time for money. No, your time is money, and what we should be using a function of money to reflect our time. And we don't teach it in school. I think that's. I mean, is it a coincidence that the curriculums are controlled by the people that print money, and we don't teach them about money in schools? Like, is that a coincidence?
Yeah,
Maybe.
crazy.
I don't think so. Is it a coincidence that there's no solid, like, nonpartisan Bitcoin education or sorry, monetary education in like universities, in post-secondary? Why aren't we funding these types of things? And I think it's, frankly, I think it's criminal, but also I think it's important that individuals that care about, you know, individualism, that care about sovereignty, that care about freedom, that care about protecting their wealth and having money to pass down to their kids and their grandkids and their great grandkids, we got to get out of the rat race. And Bitcoin is obviously the answer to get out of the rat race.
Couldn't agree more. Okay, so let's jump in right from the beginning. So, you know, again, someone pre-coiner did the research. Now they're like, you know what? Let's buy some Bitcoin. First, what's the best way to buy Bitcoin? Like, what are the options? How can people buy Bitcoin?
Great question. We just designed a survey. Survey might be the wrong term for it, but it's called the Bitcoin Survey. And it's going to be live pretty quick here at bitcoinvault.com/survey. And it exactly answers this question, right? We've thought of the majority of scenarios. We're going to have missed some, obviously, but the majority of scenarios that individuals, questions they might ask, and it's all like Bitcoin's a journey. So there's different things that are important to different people. So the best thing for me or for you might not be the same for, you know, some other listener.
True.
And two listeners might have different things that are important. For some people, Bitcoin is pure price speculation. So they need to get the best price possible. They sacrifice convenience. They sacrifice security. They sacrifice lots of other things that are important to me because they're like, I got to get the best price possible because I got to exit my trade in 24 hours, in 12 months, and whatever that time frame is. That may be one side. The other side, it's like, no. Bitcoin is money. It's sound money. I'm going to pass these coins down to my great, great, great grandkids. I need these things to be locked up outside of any authoritarian business, and I got to have sole control. And that's going to be more of a security side. They're going to want to opt in to some more luxury features, I guess, more education, and there's a different way there. So I would almost say that there's no one answer so I'll speak from my perspective. It's all about self-custody, right? I have firsthand seen what it's like to be booted from the banking industry. Scotiabank, TD, RBC, BMO, Service Credit Union, ATB, little credit unions in Saskatchewan. Like, I am banned from all of these banking infrastructure because I've been doing Bitcoin for 10 years, and they don't like that, right?
Wow.
In fact, I've got a great example. TD, and I'm happy to call these assholes out. TD, the other last year, I had a 7-year restriction, a 7-year ban from operating at TD. The 7 years was up. I went into TD. I said, hey, I was banned 7 years ago. I'd like an account now. I want to be part of the banking infrastructure. Like it's tough to live without a bank, right?
Yeah.
Although not for long, thanks to Bitcoin. Well, but so I go to TD. Like, okay, yeah, we see that it's all lifted, it's all good. Let's get you a checking account. I'm not looking for debt. I'm not talking about like, I want to send $1 million to some sketchy, Eastern European country. Like, no. I just want a checking account to pay my power bill and like maybe go to A&W and Starbucks, right? Like, This is what I want an account for. No cash, no sketchy business, just like direct deposit from my employer, pay my power bill, pay my Amex, like that kind of stuff. So they're like, yeah, it looks like the ban has been lifted, blah, blah, blah. What was that for? I'm like, I don't know. They didn't tell me at the time. Okay, well, that's weird, but whatever. They go in, da-da-da-da-da. We sit there for a half hour in the office setting up the account. I'm like, oh, yeah, they've put a new ban on the account now. How come? They're like, well, we can't actually see that. We got to get the fraud department to call. I was like, well, let's call them. Oh, no. We can't call them right now. They'll call you back 2 weeks later. Like, okay, 2 weeks go by, obviously nothing. Come back in. Hey, I want to open an account. The fraud was supposed to call. Oh, yeah, they called me and they just said that we can't bank you. How come? What did I do wrong? Tell me. I can fix it. Or I can't, but I want to know. What have I done wrong? Like, oh, well, we can't tell you what you've done wrong. I was like, oh, so I can't have an account. You won't tell me why. And there's this big black box that I have no insight to. They're like, yeah, sorry about that. Have a nice day. Right?
Jeez.
So I know firsthand that, and by the way, like the first time it happened, they froze hundreds of thousands of dollars. Like I had a bunch of money in that bank account that they just stripped. They rug pulled me, basically.
Wow.
They took my money. They closed the account. It took me months and lawyers to get the money back. So like, this is not some utopian, I'm some crazy conspiracy theorist. It happens to real people. I look at our country a year and a bit ago, 2,000 bank accounts closed for donations going to a trucker protest, right? We're seeing actively how money can be used as a weapon. Look at China opening up an expiring CBDC, right? The UK talking about a CBDC where they would limit what you can spend it on for your protection, of course. So I think that we're already seeing what happens when money is not in your control. And I don't think I'm being a conspiracy theorist here. I think I'm just looking at the world
Not
events.
at all. Yeah, that's
and you
reality.
can argue both ways, regardless. As long as somebody has the power to take away money, to take away what's rightfully yours, regardless of where you are in the political spectrum, the same can happen to you, right? Because politics change, the pendulum swings. Your government might not be the future government. So it doesn't, I'm not talking left, right, center. It doesn't matter. It doesn't make a difference to me. If the power exists, if the function exists for you to have your money taken, then it will be taken, or then it can be taken. So all that long-winded to say, self-custody of Bitcoin is the single greatest, most important tool in my tool chest. And how that works is a hardware wallet. They're cheap. They're easy to use, easier than ever before. I mean, the Bitcoin Well, we can help you set up a hardware wallet. We do it in a safe environment. We walk you through the process. If you want someone to hold your hand, we do it for free. A hardware wallet is the most important things, they might be called cold storage, to store your Bitcoin. And I think that's number one. Get a hardware wallet and then test it. Don't send $1 million. Don't send your whole, don't go out and FOMO into Bitcoin and then send it all to a hardware wallet you don't understand. Get a hardware wallet. Try like $100, right? Like the thing about Bitcoin is it's the same experience if it's $100 or $1 million, right? 20 million bucks, 50 million bucks. It doesn't matter. It's the same experience of here's a public address. Here's the amount of sats that I want to send. Off we go. Sign the transaction. And the hardware wallet is the same experience regardless. So test it with 100. Test it with whatever. Test it with 5, right? Like test it with small amounts. Get comfortable with the Bitcoin experience, and then start to increase your Bitcoin wealth.
Yeah. Okay. So that's perfect. I'm so glad you brought all this up because, let's take a step back though. So first question I asked was like how the best way to buy Bitcoin. And what you explained is perfect because you're totally right. There's nuances to that question, right? Depending on what your agenda or goals are, whether you're trading or looking at it as like long-term wealth and passing it on to generations. And that's the perspective I want to focus on. What you described as that, like, sound money, like, in your possession, no one can seize it. You can't get your accounts frozen, like in your experience. So that's the perspective I definitely want to focus on. So step one is get a hardware wallet, is what I'm hearing. Do you have any recommendations that for hardware wallet?
Yes and no. So I personally, man, I think I've only used four. Like, if I'm being honest, I've only really used four different kinds of hardware wallets. Um, the one that I like the best is Cold Card. Now, this is where, like, think about convenience and security as like or opposing kind of poles. The closer you get to security, the further you are from convenience, and the closer you get to convenience, the further
Right.
you are from security.
Yeah.
Right. Another, like, an analogy here is, like, think about your house. So you have a lock on your door. You maybe have one or two keys. It's not super convenient, right?
Yeah.
The ultimate convenience would be to have a key right at the front door, actually even in the lock. That would be like, because you never forget it, but it's not super secure
Right.
at the same time.
Yeah.
And so if you want only one key, well, you better not lose it, and you better not give it away, and no one else can have access. So there's this kind of, there's this spectrum that you have to lie on.
Yeah.
Cold Card is like as close to secure as you can get. It is just awesome, but super inconvenient. There's no clean UX. They don't focus on that. They focus on tight hardware that's safe.
Mm-hmm.
And that's important to me. That's what I choose. On the other side, Ledger and Trezor, they both do the similar things. They've got different kind of software. That's what makes it a little bit less secure. But if we're talking like, Bitcoin on an exchange over here and a hardware wallet over here, I'd say it's like Cold Card is like right at the end of security. It's amazing. Ledger and Trezor are like slightly off that pole, but you're still miles better than leaving
Okay.
Bitcoin in an exchange, for example.
Okay.
And so my recommendation is always get something you're comfortable with and then graduate up.
Yeah.
Right? Take the safest path that you're comfortable with. Like, if you aren't a tech guy or you're not a tech girl, and you're not really maybe comfortable like with like seed phrases and well, seed phrases maybe not, but with derivation paths and all kinds of technical Bitcoin terms, then maybe don't opt for the Cold Card. Opt for a slightly less safe, more convenient learning tool. Treat it like a learning tool, and then graduate once you're ready.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense. And what makes Cold Card and, like, let's say a Trezor, like, what's that gap? Why do you think there's like that little separation between the safety and security? Like, what is it?
So the Cold Card philosophy is very much security first. The Trezor philosophy is convenience first. And also, Cold Card, while they're a business, I think they're a little bit more like the CoinKite group which is who makes Cold Card. They're Bitcoiners, right? And they understand all the stuff that we're talking about: sovereignty, long-term wealth, Bitcoin standard, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And they want to see that come to fruition. So they build the software with that in mind. Small things like even just the parts they use, how they manufacture the boards. We're relatively certain that there's no backdoor into a Trezor, but the whole thing is an open source, for example, right?
Mm-hmm.
The whole thing is not see-through, for example. Cold Card made their entire product see-through. So you can audit, if you want to, each individual circuit on the circuit board. You can see exactly where it goes, what it's coming from. Cold Card's Bitcoin only. So Trezor is not. And what that means is if a other cryptocurrency potentially wrote something into their blockchain as a backdoor into their wallets, then potentially that backdoor into the wallet could backdoor into the hardware wallet, could backdoor into your Bitcoin wallet. So there are just risks that exist with internet, with the protocol that exists, which they need to exist. Otherwise, it would be closed and it would be authoritarian and susceptible. But there are things that you can do to eliminate that. Using a Cold Card, there are none of those risks. Using a Trezor or a Ledger, some of those risks exist. They're pretty low, right? It would be very bad for Trezor to do that from a commercial perspective. So the incentives are definitely aligned. But I would say that's kind of the main difference between kind of like the UX group, the like, hey, let's make this as convenient as possible, mass market it, put it in Best Buy, make this user friendly, versus like the Cold Card way, which is like, no. This is for an advanced user. but it's for an advanced user that understands that security comes at the cost of time and education.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Okay, so we got our hardware wallet, we got our cold card. You said test it next. So to test it, you need to obviously buy some Bitcoin, right? So how are we buying?
Absolutely.
How are we buying?
So the small amounts, I mean, hey, I'm the founder CEO of Bitcoin Well. I'm going to tell you it's Bitcoin Well, but I'm also going to tell you why it's Bitcoin Well. And I'd love for everybody watching to check me on this, right? Go after me in the comments, understand, like, take my position with a massive grain of salt, research it, and then you're going to do one of two things. You're going to think that I'm right, or you're going to think that I'm lying, and then go use the product and learn that I'm not lying. So bitcoinwell.com/join. You can read about the platform. You can sign up. It takes 30 seconds. That's the best way to do it. You enter your email, you enter a well tag, that's our version of a username, and a password. Boom, you're in the portal. Now, this is cool because if you already have Bitcoin, you can sell it right then. You don't have to verify your account. You have to confirm your email. You don't have to verify your account, your identity, your phone number, nothing. You can sell up to $900 in Bitcoin just like that. So that's step one. But if you're new to Bitcoin, you want to buy Bitcoin, now you've got this Bitcoin wallet account, you have to verify your identity. The reason for that is twofold. It protects us and you a little bit against fraud, but also FINTRAC. We're in Canada. FINTRAC is the regulating body for finance, for MSBs like us, money service businesses like us. You got to verify who you are and make sure you're not like laundering money under sanctions. You're not a bad person, basically. So once all that's done, now we can buy Bitcoin. There's two ways to buy Bitcoin at bitcoinwell.com. You can go with Interac e-transfer, which is what the majority of users do. I think about 80% of users, or Visa debit, which makes it a little bit more like a normal shopping experience. Mm-hmm. So we'll go with Interac e-transfer to start. Now you're going to do this the first time simultaneously. You're going to have your new hardware wallet that's set up and the bitcoinwell.com platform open. And on the hardware wallet that you have, you're going to go receive Bitcoin, right? That's what you're looking to do. And there's going to come up with a Bitcoin address there. Probably starts with a 1. Well, it probably starts with a 3, or a BC if it's a new kind of address. So you copy that Bitcoin address, leave it in your clipboard, and you go buy Bitcoin. How much you want to buy? $20, $50, $100, any number, up to, like, for your first transaction, no more than $250 is necessary, right? We're learning about Bitcoin here. Yeah. We don't got to break the bank. You're still a pre-coiner at this point. So a couple $100, even $100, whatever. You enter how much money you want to spend, how much Bitcoin you want to buy, and then the next thing you do is enter that address. That little nuance is so key because all custodial exchanges do not require you to enter a Bitcoin address. And what that means is they take your money before they know where you want it sent. Their default option is fake Bitcoin in your account, which we'll talk about that a bit later. So you put your Bitcoin address in, and you click next. We give you a set of unique e-transfer details. You send the e-transfer, literally instantly, the Bitcoin is sent on the blockchain directly to your cold storage, to your hardware wallet, right like that. Actually, I have had instances where the receipt for your Bitcoin purchase actually hits your inbox before your bank tells you that the e-transfer was accepted. Like, it is fast. I'm sure you've had a similar experience.
I'm, as you know, a user of Bitcoin Well, and yeah, you're totally right. It's lightning fast.
Lightning
for
fast.
Sure, yeah.
And so that's your first transaction. Boom, voila! Like, you've got Bitcoin. The whole process from, like, I don't have an account to I've got my first Bitcoin. Like, we've seen it in less than 10 minutes. People have signed up, verified their account, verified their identity, and bought Bitcoin in less than 10 minutes. It's fast. But then the cool thing is the next time, because we have your Bitcoin address, because we're not a trading platform, we're a buying platform. We now predetermine, so we know where you want Bitcoin sent, right? And we know who you are. We've given you a set of unique e-transfer details. The next time you want to buy Bitcoin, you go to your bank, you send the same e-transfer, like different amounts, but the same recipient, the same secret question, the same secret answer, and we automatically send the Bitcoin directly to your cold storage wallet. Yeah. So you don't even have to log into the platform on your second time.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
I actually want to ask you about that, though, about that. So a lot of wallets, they use a new receiving address. For, I guess, added security and benefit. Can you talk about the difference between reusing the same one and a new address?
it's all privacy focused. So like I said, right, privacy, security on one side, convenience on the other. That's a convenience,
Yeah.
right? And you're sacrificing a little bit of privacy. It's still as secure as before, but you're sacrificing a little bit of privacy to have that convenience. The difference between sending Bitcoin to the same address or to a different address is that it's an accumulation game. So if someone is spying on you, if someone wants to know how much Bitcoin that you have, they'd be able to see quite easily. If you only had one Bitcoin address, they'd be able to see quite easily how much Bitcoin you had.
Right.
Versus if you are spreading that Bitcoin across multiple different addresses, it's a lot harder to see. There's a concept called doxing, where the Bitcoin address could be tied to you in the future. And if you don't have all of your Bitcoin spread out amongst different addresses, it's a lot easier to follow the blockchain, follow the record, and find more of your stash, more of your Bitcoin. So you run that risk of privacy. Now, the way to oppose this, and I don't know if we're getting too technical here, but the way to oppose this is to give us your XPub, and then we could send it to a different address every single time, which is better for kind of worldwide privacy. But you've given us your XPub, and we can now see all of the addresses in your Bitcoin wallet. So it's kind of a little bit of a double-edged sword. Like I said, it's convenience versus privacy at this point. There's those two poles, kind of like where are you on the spectrum? But it's really, really cool being able to send an e-transfer and then in real time receive Bitcoin without even logging in. And you think about where does this go next? Let's talk about voice assistants, right? Once we figure out a way to make that transaction even easier, we might be able to go, hey, Amazon, buy $100 in Bitcoin, for example, and boom, into your platform, into the bank, straight to cold storage.
Yeah.
Right? And then even next, it's like we just automate the full thing. When Bitcoin is over a certain amount, under a certain amount, take that, buy $100, buy $50, buy $20 worth of Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So you can see how our product progresses with this level of, albeit simple, but apparent automation.
Yeah. Can you talk about the XPub? So, I'm not too familiar with that. Can you talk about how that works?
An XPub is basically the kind of universal display of all of the Bitcoin addresses under that XPub. So how a Bitcoin wallet works is you have an XPrive. So that's kind of like your X private key, and that lives up top. And the XPrive dictates all the different private keys that might exist in that one wallet. So a wallet could be aptly named an XPrive, let's say. So you've got your wallet, that's your XPrive. You got tons of different private keys inside that XPrive. Each individual private key now has an XPub, right? So the private key is like the key to that one XPub. That one XPub has multiple different public addresses, which is where you send Bitcoin. So think of it like how you've got like master keys to certain things. So the master key kind of has would be like the private key, and that accesses everything under that one XPub, and then you can have multiple different locks at different locations that you have access to things inside from just that single key.
Okay. And are the number of unique keys like infinite, or is there a limit?
Infinite, my dude.
Yeah.
So now I think by the logic of the encryption method, there is a limit. I think by virtue of like the SHA-256 encryption, which is the Bitcoin protocol, or how the Bitcoin protocol is encrypted, I think there's a limit to the character strings that an XPrive can be. I want to say it's like 45 or 50 unique characters. So it's like a really big number.
Yeah.
I don't know what the number is.
Yeah.
It's bigger. It's like, I think billions of people can have billions of XPrives, and we won't run out.
Right.
Like it's for sake of conversation. Yes, it's
pretty
infinite.
much infinite.
For sake of logic, like I'm not sure. To be honest.
There's probably okay. All right. So you with Bitcoin Well, get your private key or your receiving address, and you guys can send it instantly. I can
Yeah. And
validate
very
that.
important, we
Yeah.
never have your private key. We never ask for your private key. You never give us a private key. We don't want your private key. I
Yeah.
am not in the business of holding your Bitcoin. I want you to hold your Bitcoin. I want to sell you Bitcoin. I want to give you dollars when you don't need Bitcoin. I want to help you pay your bills in Bitcoin. I do not want to hold your Bitcoin, which
Yeah.
is the opposite of like ShakePay, Coinbase, BitBuy, Binance, like Netcoin, like all of these other platforms want to hold your Bitcoin. In fact, if you go to cspread.com, it's a pretty good like rate aggregator in the space, and they highlight the trading fee and then the withdrawal fee of those platforms. And the majority of platforms actually charge you to withdraw money. That is criminal.
Mhm.
Imagine paying money and then their default option being, I'll just keep this here. Thanks very much. Like
Yeah.
that's just
Yeah.
not how it should be. Our default option is delivered to you, and right now, and probably for the foreseeable future, we don't actually even have an option to leave your money with us. Like
Yeah.
you cannot leave Bitcoin at Bitcoin Well. It just is not possible. We force you to take it yourself. If you aren't comfortable taking your own money, I would say book an appointment with our Bitcoin specialists, and we can show you how easy it is and how it's possible. And if you're still not comfortable, frankly, we just this is not the platform for you.
Yeah. No,
we don't,
makes
we
sense.
don't want to hold your Bitcoin.
Makes sense. So, a question about the business itself. So, when someone buys Bitcoin from Bitcoin, well, you said we're obviously you're exchanging, we're providing, or like let's say me, I'm giving you cash or dollars, you're giving me Bitcoin. Is that Bitcoin owned by Bitcoin Well, or is it some
Yeah.
attached to some other entity, or how does that?
Nope, it's ours. So we
Okay.
have an inventory of Bitcoin that we sell you the same way like Sport Check has hockey sticks. They buy all those from Bauer and from True and Warrior and whoever else makes hockey CCM, and they buy all those hockey sticks, and then they sit on the Sport Check shelf, and then as they sell, they buy more, and there's a markup in that process.
Yeah.
So we buy the Bitcoin first. We've got the inventory. As you come in to buy $100 worth of Bitcoin, we sell you that $100 worth of Bitcoin. Then we go out and rebuy that $100 worth of
Yeah.
Bitcoin.
Okay. And where do you buy from? Are you able to disclose that, or?
Yeah. So we've got right now 5 different institutional liquidity providers who are
Mm.
in the business, basically aggregating international markets, trying to find the best prices for Bitcoin. We source those 5 different institutional liquidity providers. It's all back end stuff, right? It's like
Mhm.
it's not there's not really front ends to these platforms. It's kind of just all done through API. We've got an account there. We've got money sitting there. And then as orders come in, our API says, "Hey, you better buy $100 of Bitcoin." We say, "Hey, who's got $100 worth of Bitcoin?" Platforms say, we do, and then we buy that from that platform and then take it back into inventory.
Okay, got you. Okay, so we got our Bitcoin now in our hardware wallet, secured. Let's use Cold Card as an example. Now, is there is Cold Card attached to like a wallet you can access on your phone to see the balance or anything
No,
like
so
that? No.
Cold Card is definitely cold storage. Um, that is a hardware wallet is always cold storage. Ledger Live does have the ability, or the Ledger gives you a kind of a mobile app, but I don't believe you can send Bitcoin from it. It's more just for like watching. So you could use any block explorer. Mempool.com is my favorite one to watch your cold card addresses if you so choose.
What was that?
What
Can
you're
you?
talking about
What was
now is
that
a
one again? The
mempool.com.
okay.
So mempool.com is a block explorer. You can just paste an address into their search bar and it shows you that address. You have no access to that address. You have
Okay.
no way of knowing who owns it. You have no way of spending that Bitcoin, but you can see, hey, there's Bitcoin there, and then they give you, and that's worth roughly this many Canadian or US or euros.
Yeah. Okay.
What you're talking about now is a mobile wallet.
Yeah.
And so mobile wallets, there's some potential for problems here. People actually think their Coinbase account is a mobile wallet. It's not. A mobile wallet, I would say, rides the line perfectly between convenience and security. And I would treat a mobile wallet like cash in your pocket. If you're comfortable walking around with a couple $100 in cash in your pocket on your person, great. A mobile wallet with a couple $100 worth of Bitcoin is probably right for you. If you were like,
I want no cash on me at any point in time, then you don't need one.
Yeah.
The mobile wallets that I recommend are Blue Wallet. Blue Wallet's great. It is, for the most part, open source. It's got the ability for Lightning, which is cool. It doesn't work that great, but it's there. And it gives you your private key. So again, you take the private key. You own the seed phrase, which is a way to access the private key. And that is the most important piece. If a mobile wallet does not give you a private key, not just like the option to get it, does not give it to you by default, it is not to be trusted. You cannot trust a mobile wallet that does not give you the private key.
Yeah.
In fact, mobile wallets that don't have private keys aren't real Bitcoin wallets. You don't actually see the Bitcoin that's inside them because you cannot verify all of the addresses in your wallet. So at the end of the day, it's like, hardware wallet, mobile wallet that gives you a private key. If a mobile wallet doesn't give you a private key, it's basically a Google Sheet.
Right.
And you do not want to store value on a Google Sheet.
Yeah. And so does Coldcard also, do all hardware wallets provide that XPub?
Yeah. Well, yes and no. All hardware wallets have an XPub, but not all hardware wallets give you access to your XPub.
Okay.
This is what I'm talking about between like security and convenience. It can be confusing because your first time owning a hardware wallet, you don't have a Bitcoin specialist going by you side by side answering questions for what's this button do, what's that button do, how does this exist. Some companies have taken the position of let's just lock this down, make it as simple as possible, and not confuse our new users.
Yeah.
But every single Bitcoin wallet, if it's a real Bitcoin wallet, has an XPub.
Okay, got you. Now the like Ledger Live, for example, or like I think a similar one is like Exodus, which you can use with the Trezor. So you can't send through these live these wallets. So are you still cautious about those? Do those still straddle that security line, or?
So those are good. So what that basically does is it takes your XPub, right? So it has access to your XPub. Not super great for privacy, but still fine for security. And it allows you to receive on the fly.
Yeah.
So this is kind of what I'm talking about. You could give us the XPub from Coldcard, or you can give it to Ledger Live and have a new address every single time getting ripped through. Both are fine. Both have their privacy concerns, but that's just the beauty of the beast.
Yeah.
That would allow you to have a new Bitcoin address. You could press receive, and just get new addresses every time you push that button from that same wallet. You can be confident that the Bitcoin will end up in your hardware wallet.
Yeah, got you. So if you have a Coldcard then, and you're just accumulating Bitcoin, like how do you actually see what you have after, like, let's say a year? You want to check your balance. Like, do you have to put it into your computer, or how does that work?
Yeah. So you would have, so the Coldcard works alongside an open source Bitcoin software called Electrum, and you would open up your Electrum wallet. Basically, like, so we've been talking about wallets as if they are actual devices that hold things. They're not really. Bitcoin actually isn't held in a wallet. Bitcoin's held on the blockchain. Wallets actually just give you access to the blockchain, to that specific piece on the blockchain. So we're getting super technical here. I probably just blew some minds. Bitcoin is never in a Bitcoin wallet. It's just accessed by a Bitcoin wallet.
Got it.
Kind of like your debit card, right? Like, there's no money actually inside your debit card. There's just money in your bank, and your debit card is like a direct link to your bank. And it's kind of the same way with a hardware wallet.
Yeah.
So you would still, like, you would just query the blockchain using Electrum, and then if you wanted to spend that Bitcoin that's in Electrum, you'd have to plug in your Coldcard, because it's the only device that can give you access to the money that you see.
Okay, I got you. So speaking of, like wallets, the Bitcoin or your coins are not actually on a wallet; they're on the blockchain, right? But
Right.
So seed phrases. So when you got a hardware wallet, it comes with a seed phrase. So what is that? Why is that important?
So a seed phrase is the access key to a wallet. So there's an xPrive, which is a big
unreadable string of numbers and letters. And then there's a seed phrase, and the seed phrase is kind of the human version of that xprive. And the seed phrase is typically 12 to 24 letters or words, sorry, and there can be one extra word as a passphrase. And what that does is, whether or not your seed phrase gets compromised, your passphrase could be that kind of last ditch effort, kind of like a 2FA code.
Mhm.
So there can be up to 25 words in a seed phrase. Now, what the seed phrase does is it effectively decrypts or gives you what the xprive is, which gives you then access to those wallets.
Okay, so let's say I have a Trezor wallet, I lose it, it gets lost, it gets burned in a fire, but I have my seed phrase, those
Bingo.
24
So you'd go
words.
pick up a brand new Trezor, right? You plug it into your computer. They'd say new wallet or restore wallet. You click restore wallet. They'd say, great, what's your seed phrase? Here's my seed phrase, 12 or 24 words. They'd say, great, do you have a password on it, right? Is there a 25th word? Yes or no? And then off you go, and it would just be like the new device.
Yeah, okay. Now, if their seed phrases are 24 words, like if you just know the first 12, does that still work, or do you need all 24?
No, you need all 24. Seed phrases are either 12 or 24
Okay.
words.
Which ones are 12?
And,
Are there certain wallets or?
yeah, so certain mobile wallet, like I think Blue Wallet, for example, is a 12 worder.
Okay.
I think you can actually in some wallets choose if you want 12 or 24
Okay.
words. And again, convenience or security,
Yeah.
right? 24, obviously safer, harder to remember, right? Is this something that you're going to try to beat into your brain so you can travel? Like, let's go down an extreme angle here. If I'm in North Korea and I've got 12 words that I can remember that gives me access to $100 million,
Yeah.
well, that's easier than 24, right? So there's pros and cons to both.
Yeah. And do you need to know the words in order?
In order.
In order.
Yeah.
Okay. So how do you properly store and secure your seed phrases?
Yeah. So seed phrase are generally like written down. It is not advised, not a screenshot on your cloud photo storage, not through a printer. You get I don't have any paper in an office, but get a piece of paper and write it down. We just bought I forget what it's called. It's basically a metal engraver built for seed phrases.
Yeah.
And you know what it's called? Have you seen that?
I ordered it after I saw the video that
Yeah.
you posted, and I'm gonna check right now.
So we just bought one, and so we'll be doing this complimentary at our for all of our clients that come in person. It's all done securely and done in a way that can't be spoofed. So we will be engraving seed phrases onto metal plates. That is by far the best way to store a seed phrase. It's fireproof. Obviously, it's small, compact, easy to put away somewhere.
Keystone.
But pardon me, Keystone. That's right.
Keystone. Yeah.
The best way to store something though is in a fireproof environment that is susceptible, like not out in the open, right? I mean, what was that Silk Road guy? He had a couple thousand Bitcoin on a popcorn box under his floorboard.
Aaron Albright or Ross or?
Well, Ross for sure, but like recently, like in 2022, there was a big bust associated with the Silk Road. The guy had 1,000 Bitcoin or something on a hardware wallet in a popcorn tin under his floorboards, which is pretty hilarious. So I think that you need it to be fireproof. You need it to be like theft, right? Like theft proof, maybe, and just take the steps that you can. So like what I've done with mine is like, yeah, you put them in a fireproof safe somewhere, probably not in your house. Other smart moves is like cut the seed phrase into 3 pieces and put them in 3 different locations. One at your lawyer's office, one at, 2 other spots, right?
Yeah.
Your grandma's house, whatever. Bury it in, go buy a grave plot for yourself and bury it down there. Like, I don't know, whatever you want to do with it.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
You can choose, you can tell each individual person one word. Now then you're susceptible to that person forgetting or a bunch of collusion or whatever. But at the end of the day, you can be as safe and secure as you want to be with
Yeah.
that seed phrase. 12 to 24 words kind of give you access to your Bitcoin wallet.
Yeah, so very, very important. What about for like everyday usage in wallets? So how do you manage that? Like, do you have a separate wallet for that?
Yeah, definitely. I've got multiple Bitcoin wallets. I don't think all your Bitcoin it doesn't have to be in one wallet. Um, I like Blue Wallet. So for day-to-day stuff, right? Blue Wallet, I've got Bitcoin in there. It's a hot wallet. And then right now I'm testing some Lightning wallets. I'm using Wallet of Satoshi right now, which is custodial, which I'm against. Do not use it thinking it's non-custodial. It's very custodial. But it's simple. And as we learn Lightning, like, I'm on that learning track. So I've got, my learning amount of Bitcoin, a couple $100 sitting in there. If it disappears, that will suck, but I'm prepared to lose it. And I'm learning the Lightning protocol. And so like at the office here, for example, we play ping pong for sats, and we'll play 10,000 sat games of Bitcoin.
Yeah.
We have a keg that's got beer and coffee, and we've set it up in the Lightning Network. So you scan the Lightning invoice, and then out comes the coffee. And so we're testing this kind of stuff. We've got a jukebox, or we had a jukebox that you'd pick a song, it would be a different amount of satoshis. You'd scan the invoice, and the song would start playing.
Yeah.
So that's how we use it day to day. Frankly, Bitcoin is not really usable in the real world, and that's a big part of why we exist. We want to make Bitcoin a lot more easier to use. I have this theory that in 2023, you should be able to hold and use your money simultaneously. And that is not true for the majority of Canadians today. You can either use your money, it's in a bank, or you can hold your money, it's outside a bank. But you largely can't, like, I tried to go buy a sandwich with a $50 bill the other day. Sorry, we don't have change. I was like, the sandwich is $18. Like, you don't have $30 of change? What is going on here? They're like, yeah, we don't take $50 bills. So like,
Wow.
you just can't hold and use your money at the same time, and that's gross. And so what we're setting out to do, make it easy for you to hold Bitcoin yourself, and then we're looking to leverage the existing legacy financial rails to make it possible to then spend that Bitcoin in the real world. Right? Today, it's possible you can use an Amex card, pay that Amex off with Bitcoin. You pay your taxes with Bitcoin, your power bill with Bitcoin. The next step to that is linking in something that looks like a bank account, give you a routing, a transit, and an account number. You can deposit funds. You can have it sit in Bitcoin until, there's a $50 call on your account for power or whatever. Boom. You initiate and sign a transaction, and then out goes that $50. There's different ways that this is how we innovate. This is how we make it possible to simultaneously hold and use your money. We call it future-proof your money.
Love it. Tell me more about what's coming new with Bitcoin Well.
So we're excited about the portal that we just built. Launched in November. Buy and sell Bitcoin in the fastest way possible. As of last week, we dropped our rate to 0.21%, 0.21%.
Yeah.
This is the cheapest in the country. We're going fully, like, it's easier to buy Bitcoin at bitcoinwell.com than a custodian. It's obviously safer because we're non-custodial, and now it's cheaper. There's no excuse not to buy Bitcoin at bitcoinwell.com. We're not making any money on this, right? We have an existing core business. We have Bitcoin ATMs that exist. We have our personal services that exist. We aren't looking to make all of our money in this portal. It's a bear market. Times are tough. We know you got to stack your sats. Do it in the fastest, safest, and cheapest way possible at bitcoinwell.com. That's our theory. And so that's what's been there and exciting. Building and iterating on that. We launched Sell a little while ago, and people are like, why you have Sell? Who cares about Sell? It's like, well, you have to sell if you're not all in, right? Or sorry, you don't have to sell if you're not all in. If you're all in, you got to sell, right? You got to eat, you got to live. Maybe you got kids that need shoes and play hockey and whatever. You got to have lunch once in a while. You got to have maybe a haircut. I haven't had a haircut in a while. I don't like to spend my sats on haircuts, but like, this is the way. Unless you're all in, you have to sell Bitcoin, or when you're all in, you have to sell Bitcoin to live. And so we've got Sell there. Same concept as Buy, right? We give you, this is boom. Here's your Bitcoin address. Here's your Sell address. The second that address gets Bitcoin, you transfer into your bank. Done. That's it. No BS. No floating around. No fund your wallet, then make an order, then have the order fill, then withdraw your CAD. None of that garbage. Just send Bitcoin, get an e-transfer instantly. The second that Bitcoin confirmation comes through from the mining network, usually about 10 minutes or so, boom, you've got e-transfer in your bank if it's auto deposit or in your email at this time.
Nice.
So that was just released. That's good. Over the next little while, we're going to have bill payments that same kind of way. Bill payments I'm very excited about because it's going to be like, here's your address for your Amex card. Here's your address for your Visa card. Here's your address for your landlord. Here's your address for whatever. Really starting that banking position, right? I envision like you've got an address book on your phone, on your wallet. It's just like, okay, pay 0.008 Bitcoin to my Amex address. Out it goes. It's just done. Thank you, Bitcoin. Well, just log into the platform. It's all just sitting there on the back end, working for you, making your money future proof. That's the idea.
Nice.
So that's coming down the pipe here. I said yesterday on the investor broadcast that we did with Julian from Kinetic Finance, we're actively pursuing an international expansion. I don't have much details on that right now. That's not going to share, but I mean, please, like, follow us on Twitter, sign up for the newsletter. Like, once we can share, we're going to be sharing exciting plans about international expansion. So that's cool. And then I think the most exciting thing for me right now is it's my goal, and this year is probably a little bit ambitious, but it's my goal that Canadians should have the option to have a bank account, and they should have, which means they have the option to have a Bitcoin Well account that gives them all of the services they need from their bank account. If you look at our website at bitcoinwell.com/investors, you can see, our business summed up is we couple the convenience of modern banking with the benefits of Bitcoin. And how that looks is, like I said earlier, giving you a routing number, a transit number, and a checking account that you can pre-authorize debits out of for like car payments or mortgages or loans or whatever. You can send it to your employer and say, hey, pay my Bitcoin here. We give you a card. You can go spend money. But then you can set up your life. You can set up your saving strategy one time with budgeting, right? So I want to spend $50 on coffee a month. Anything I don't spend that month, stack, right? Automatically. Hey, and also punish me if I spend too much money at A&W this month. Punish me by buying $20. Like, I got to invest in my financial future because I'm not investing in my health, right? So there's different fun tools that we can use. Once you are using Bitcoin in real time, you have a card linked to a hot wallet, all in your custody that you're able to spend money on. That's where we're going.
That's cool.
We're looking. Our competitor is not ShakePay. It's not Coinbase. Go ahead, be a custodian that buys and sells Bitcoin. Dabble in shit coins, whatever. Do your thing. Our competitor is Scotiabank, right? We're looking to make it obsolete. You don't need to give your Canadian dollars to somebody else, right? You've got Bitcoin in your wallet, and you can use that the exact same way you can use Canadian dollars, but it's infinitely safer for you and borderless. That's where we're going.
Love it, man. So what about the recurring buy? Is that coming out soon?
Yes. So we had recurring buy. It wasn't good enough.
Okay.
And what I mean by that was we were withdrawing money and then sending you Bitcoin on a bi-weekly or a monthly cadence. And that was fine. But we were getting tons of NSF charges because I'm very much like, if we got your money, I want you to have the Bitcoin. And we knew there was NSF risk. We were monitoring it closely. It was pretty good for a little while. Like, obviously people are confirmed and verified, and the majority of people that NSF, they would give us the money later on. But that wasn't a scalable product. So we took it off. It still exists. If you were in the legacy BSP, the Bitcoin Savings Plan program, then there you go. You still got it. We're gonna run that until we've got a better alternative. Now the problem that we're solving is, how do we make it as seamless as possible, as instant as possible, while still having that recurring cadence? And getting e-transfer to its instantaneousness and the simplicity of it is step one. If the banks allowed you to automate e-transfers, that would be done. We are pretty sure we can do it with the insert of bill payments. So soon you'll be able to buy Bitcoin for your bill payment network, like the same way you pay your EPCOR bill or your hydro bill or whatever, your telecom bill. You'll be able to do it through that same kind of bill payment network in your bank, and you can automate those bill payments. That'll be one way. But of course, the ultimate convenience is give us your bank account, and then we'll just pull it when you tell us to. So lots of problems to solve in that, lots of different integration that need to happen. We're actively working on the Bitcoin savings plan, and we'll be very excited to bring it back. It's not going to be your run of the mill Bitcoin savings plan. It's going to be cool. It's going to be done in Bitcoin well fashion, which is, yeah, everyone does it one way. We do it differently because it's better, safer, faster, more convenient for the user.
Man, every time I speak to you and just like seeing firsthand the evolution of Bitcoin well and the improvements and upgrades, you get me more and more excited. Like I'm able to really see here like the vision that you have, and it's exciting, man. It's exciting for me. It's exciting for every Canadian, frankly, and beyond, hopefully. So
Definitely, hopefully, yeah, no, and beyond. You're right, but hey, man, I'm a Canadian guy. Like I love it here. It's tough to be here right now as someone who cares about sovereignty, as someone who cares about being a free individual. Like we've had a lot of restrictions on our individualism over the last few years, and that's garbage. It's tough to be here for that sake. What's driving my bullishness on Canada is just that we're able to build a product. We've got a vision, a roadmap, and the means to build a product that helps Canadians self-custody money, and that's special.
Amazing.
And I'm excited to give my fellow Canadians something that they can
it's
rely on.
incredible, man. I'm super excited as well. Let me ask you a question. What would you say for your business? What is that going concern that you have operating? What you're doing?
Access to the legacy financial system. It's funny. So we've got really great partners. Our existing partners are phenomenal. The ones that give us access to these payment, like Interac eTransfer, for example. If Interac eTransfer is something like, because we go through multiple different payment processors, and if all those payment processors are like, yeah, you're done, like that would be it, right? We had to go through a strict, like it took us months and tens of thousands of dollars to get approved by Visa for the Visa debit program. Like we are exposed, right? This is why it's so important to get a platform that is non-custodial, because the same thing can happen everywhere else, right? We're seeing that. Like look at this Binance debacle, right? The U.S. payments systems take away access to Binance. Lo and behold, customers have funds in Binance, and there's no way for them to get their money out. Huge problems, right? So I would say that's kind of the biggest going concern, and something that we work very hard on, is to make sure that our payment providers know what we're doing. We're above board. We're regulated. All of our regulations are up to speed, and everything's all good. And then we just have to trust that the government will continue to do what they say they will, which is have a fair and open business environment. Obviously, that falls down when you hear my story, when you hear that I've been banned from every bank in Alberta, when you hear that a company like ours has to pay tens of thousands of dollars a month for a checking account. Like, obviously, it's not all is equal. But I think that, we're doing a good job. We went public to combat exactly this, right? We are a publicly traded, reliable, trusted, and vetted organization. We have due diligence done in our company every single year by regulated auditors. Like, we are here. We're the long haul. We're Bitcoin only. We're self-custody advocates. We're non-custodial platform. We're publicly traded. Like, we are really shaping this up to be like, look, we're insulated by your own rules, right? We're publicly traded. Well, give us a bank. Like, why wouldn't that be possible? We're publicly traded. Well, then we deserve access to these things. And if you say no, then you got to show your cards. So we're really trying to insulate ourselves within the confines of the space, while pushing the limits of what we're able to do, again, within those confines.
Yeah. With what we've seen in the last 3 years in Canada, right? We have regulations and rules, but again, in the last 3 years, rules didn't really mean much. So like the fact that your business is relying, like you said, you're trusting that the government is going to do what they say they're going to do, and FinTrack rules not changing and other regulations happening. Like, how big of a concern is that to you?
So there's two ways to look at this. For like my own livelihood and my business, it's a lot more concerning than my customers and our users. And what I mean by that is, if we disappeared tomorrow, there would be zero customer dollars lost, zero customer Bitcoin disappearing. If I got on a plane and I'm a big fraudster and off I go, zero of our customer funds go with me because I don't have access to them because that's how we built the platform,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
We built it in a way where we cannot take our customer money. And so how much of a concern is it? Like, again, my livelihood's here, right? I've got a ton of equity in the company. I founded the company. I have taken $0 out of my equity in the company. My livelihood relies on this organization. So from my familial perspective, I got 4 kids and a wife, and from that perspective, it's a lot more concerning because I know that my customers are insulated. I know that they do not have that same exposure that our organization does. So I think all that to say, I don't think it'll happen in the near future. I would be very surprised if it happened in the near future. We spend a lot of time investing in our relationships with the regulators, making sure that they know who we are, what we do, what our policies are. Like, to give you a sense of scope here, the CSA, the Canadian Securities Administration, they actively are regulating Bitcoin and crypto platforms. We were the first ones there. We were like, hey guys, we're here. You're doing this. This is back in 2019. We're going public soon. What do you need from us? We're going to register. They're like, okay, send us all your policies. Da, 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 da. They go through. They go, oh, you're non-custodial. Yeah, we are. That's our mission. Oh, we don't care about non-custodial companies. There's no risk to customer funds with them. So I think that we're lucky that some of the regulators understand what a non-custodial business is, the value that it brings to customers, and we're super lucky that we're not on their sites.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's amazing. What about the threat that governments have around the world about Bitcoin itself? Like, is that a
It's a good
concern?
question. It's funny. Bitcoin is one of the first tools. I think that's like the internet that actually puts Bitcoin or that puts governments in competition with each other. If I'm a government and I've got a certain tax base that is Bitcoin related, and I piss off that tax base or I penalize that tax base, then that tax base could just move. And Bitcoin's borderless, right? We've built the platform in such a way that we can add a payment rail from any jurisdiction with any parameters, and we can integrate those platforms, right? If a Peruvian bank was like, hey guys, we want our citizens and our customers to have access to Bitcoin the same way Canadians do. Here's our API docs. Here's the technology that exists. Boom. Couple weeks, we're integrated. We're up and running. Let's go. Peruvian Bitcoin well. Here we go.
Yeah.
So I think that Bitcoin and the way that we're looking at things, we have an opportunity to be borderless. If Canada becomes hostile, peace, right? We're gone. We're going to a spot where there's no hostility in the government. Maybe there's welcoming from the government, right? Maybe we get a grant or two to develop things. Like, this business was built without in the absence of grants. There's been nothing since going public
Yeah.
because we weren't privy to those kinds of luxuries.
Yeah.
So we've been there before. We've done it before. If we need to, we pick up and go. There's no stopping this organization. There's no stopping this technology, and we're ready to pursue that to the end.
I'm sure you thought about this with a family, 4 kids. I didn't know you had 4 kids, by the way. That's awesome. If shit hit the fan in Canada, like, where are you looking? Like, where's your spot?
Yeah, it's a really good question, man. It's a question my wife and I actually think about actively.
Same.
And it's probably not like a first world
No.
place. Like, it's probably, I just spent some time in Guatemala. There'll be some videos coming out soon, actually.
I heard, yeah,
from
yeah.
Canadian Finance. I went to
Yeah.
Guatemala. Follow me on YouTube, Adam O'Brien _ on YouTube. It was cool, man, and it was interesting to see how a different part of the world is, what they value, how they live, what's important to them. Shit hits the fan, like you're describing, like is possible. I don't know. I've got a farm. I've got a few hundred acres out in the middle of nowhere. That would be my first place to go to figure things out. And then I'd probably look to go someplace that is going to be welcoming to me,
Mhm.
and it's going to embrace the things that we're talking about.
It's so
I don't
crazy
know.
that these are even discussions that Canadian families are having.
Well, it is and it isn't. I
It's-
mean, these were discussions that a Venezuelan shouldn't have been having 15 years ago. But here
I
we
know.
are. Look at the
But if you
Venezuelan
asked me
economy,
10
right?
years ago, you know, if I would be having these discussions in Canada, like I'd be like, you're crazy. Like this is the
Well,
place
it
to
goes to
be.
show you what a government who says one thing does another, and what what that gets you. Like it's obviously like geopolitical problems are existing, and they're not being handled in a good way. Democracy needs a shift up, and I have no idea what that looks like, but it's pretty obvious to me that it's needed.
Yeah, agree. Look, I think we covered quite a bit for sure. I think this was a lot more than I anticipated in a great way. So it's
Nice.
always a pleasure speaking with you, Adam. I always get super
Likewise.
excited speaking with you and hopeful, for the future in Canada, and I love what you guys are doing. So keep up the amazing work, man.
Amazing. Thank you so much, brother. Appreciate you having me on, and looking forward to the next one.
For sure. Let's do it. All the best, and we'll chat soon.
Cool, man.
All right.
Peace.